Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 4 of Travel Talk with Sucheta. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and thank you for joining me today, day after a holiday. And some of you may still be out for work. So, thank you for joining. And today we will be talking about food blogging and traveling for food. So, I don't know how many of you actually make your itinerary based on the restaurants you're going to try or the local cuisine that you're most interested in learning about. Me personally, I pick my destinations based on food. I love to go into countries that are known for its cuisine, the places that I love the food from, and then I would plan an itinerary where I'm definitely checking out some of the restaurants, the street food, and the local cuisine. So, let me tell you a little bit about how to find the most authentic food, and then we will go into food blogging. If that's something you're interested in journaling your food journeys and or becoming a food writer someday or contributing to your local magazines. Now, I started in about 2003 writing about food. I was not traveling a lot that time. I was working in a corporate job. So I had a desk job in investment banking, but I always like to try new restaurants and I like to cook as well. So in 2003, I reached out to a local magazine. It was South Asian and had just started. And I asked them if I could do their restaurant review column. And they said, fine, we can't afford to pay you, but we'll cover the cost of your food. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not a writer by profession. I was just starting out. I had a full time job, and this is something I wanted to do just for fun. So I get to eat free food and go try new restaurants. Why not? And a couple of years, I wrote for this magazine on a monthly basis. And then I reached out to another local, bigger magazine, and I said, well, I've been writing about food. And I have some stories, some recipes that I from India that I have been cooking. And they asked me to do a story, a feature story for them, featuring my grandma and me and some of the recipes that I acquired from her. And if you fast forward that from 2003 to now, 2018, I've written about food for Chow Hound. I have a column in Creative Loafing. I've written for Scene and Travel, Huffington Post, Travel and Leisure, for Doors, and a lot of other publications. And some of the writing I do is around my own personal travels and how I'm discovering the food. And a lot of times it's just restaurant reviews for where I live in Atlanta. So I'll go into that a little bit deeper, but just to give you a background story of, you can start wherever. And if you just love food and you call yourself a foodie, you don't necessarily have to quit your job and start eating and traveling around the world. You can start somewhere. So let's talk about how to find the local cuisine. Now, raise your hand if you have been to a country and come back really disappointed of the food. I have. The first time I went to Italy, believe it or not, I was so disappointed because I love Italian food, but everything was overpriced. It wasn't the best tasting, the service was horrible. And then I realized that it's because I was going to the tourist trap places. Now, I've been to Italy about 10 times since then, and I so love the cuisine there. But I avoid going to the restaurants that are near the major attractions where the buses come and drop off tourists because those are the restaurants that are not looking for repeat customers. They're looking for people who just want something quickly, they don't really know the taste, and they just want to leave. So avoid going to places that are near tourist attractions that are always mentioned in tour books or hop on buses drop you off near them. You need to find the alleys and go a little bit away. Go to the residential neighborhoods where the locals eat, where they do get repeat customers, and the locals are more discerning about the food. They will go to a different restaurant if they don't like it, if it's not authentic. So that's where you need to go. Now, how would you find those local restaurants? Do not ask the hotel concierge. The hotel concierge is looking at you as a tourist and is going to send you to restaurants that are more popular with tourists. Ask the bellboy instead. Ask your driver. Now, recently I was in Sri Lanka and I was eating at these really nice hotels, buffet dinners, and I got so tired of it. Sure, it was great food, but it wasn't the authentic Sri Lankan experience that I was looking for. So I asked my driver once he dropped me off for lunch or dinner, where does he go to eat? And he said he goes to this very small place that's like $1 for food for an entire plate, and you don't want to go there. I said, no, I'm coming with you. I'm going to go there, and I want to eat exactly what you eat. So we got this thali platter, which had rice, fish curry, lentils, and local vegetables, and it cost $1. It was so delicious. And trust me, that's the kind of authentic food you're looking for. It saves money, but you also get some a local flavor. And you get tired of eating at hotels all the time. So ask the locals, ask people who actually save money, who don't spend a whole lot, where they like to go eat. Sure, you can go to the fancy restaurants too that are highly rated. I was recently in Warsaw and I went to the one of the only two Michelin star restaurants that are in Warsaw, and I had an incredible meal. It was by a Polish and an Italian chef, but using all local ingredients. And if you ever decide to go to Warsaw, it's called Senses. Now, another thing to do is walking food tours. That's like the first thing I do when I go to a different country is do a walking food tour, because it gives you a great orientation of not only the city, but also where the different restaurants are. And the walking food tours means that they'll point out the attractions, but then also point out the restaurants that you can go try later on. Plus, you get to have little snacks or some tastings during your walking food tour. Sometimes there are 5, 7. I've done as many as 30 tastings in one tour. Some of my favorite walking food tours was one in Istanbul, and it went across the border, to both sides of the Bosphorus, probably about 6 hours, and that's when I tried the 30 dishes. But then I got so much knowledge about the local ingredients and about why people eat certain things, how do they eat them. So, for example, the pizza, a small pizza with iron, is supposedly had for lunch. It's like a quick snack. And where in the spice market you can find the best quality spices. So you can always go back and do that. I also did one with chili paste tours in Bangkok, and we started really early in the morning at 7:30 or something, and we were seeing how the vegetables were brought into the market, how this couple who has been cooking for the last 50 years has a chicken stand, and it runs out like within an hour or two. We watched Buddhist monks get fed in one of the villages, and it was just this incredible experience that you won't be able to discover on your own unless you do a food tour. Context is one of the companies that organizes food tours around the world, and I did one with them in Naples, in Italy. And again, it was something that's so memorable. I will always go back and follow the trail of what we did on that food tour. And at the end, we also got to make our own pizza. So that's fantastic. I like to go visit markets, so not really into museums as much as food markets, because then you get to see what people are shopping for. And many of these food markets have food trucks or they have little stalls where you can buy prepared foods. So again, a great money saving tip. You can find cheaper food at the food market. Plus, you can also get a local experience. Now, another thing to do once you first land is take a cooking class. A cooking class gives you a great orientation to the local dishes, and you get to know how to pronounce them, what are the ingredients that go in them. If you have certain dietary restrictions, you can also come to know certain things to avoid when you go to a restaurant. Plus, the teacher in these cooking classes would be a good source of information for where you should go and eat later on during your trip. One of my favorite classes is with Aunty Puspa in Bali. And this is somewhere we go on every Go Eat Give trip we do to Indonesia. And we spend possibly like half a day, from starting with the rice paddies, going to the vegetable market, picking our vegetables, to going to our house and taking actual coconuts, extracting the oil out of it, and then using it as a base to prepare our curries. And we make about 11 dishes in a matter of 4 or 5 hours. And then we sit down, drink beer, and eat and chat with her about Bali, about her life, about food. And it's such a great experience. And it's also a great place to meet other people. So if you're traveling alone or if you are looking to make friends, cooking classes are the way to go. Let's see. There are also so many websites that have come up over the years about how to eat at a local's home. Now, what great experience is that? And I know if you can find a friend of a friend who can host you or cook for you, that's the best deal. And you can offer to bring a bottle of wine or contribute towards groceries. But if you don't have friends in that city, there are websites like Eat Local. There's Eat with, Whiz Eat, and Airbnb experiences where locals are opening up their homes for you to come and dine with them, and they will cook for you and they will take into account your dietary restrictions. Now, that happens on my Go Eat Gift trips as well. Actually, one of the experiences you have is when you come to India, is come to my grandma's house in Chandigarh, and she cooks a dinner, and you get to experience how people eat at home and what flavors they use. And certain dishes like chicken tikka masala, we never cook at home. It's only found in restaurants. Or naan, something you find in most Indian restaurants, you will not find that at home. So it's again a great way to meet people, to have local conversations, make friends, and try the authentic food. So any questions so far, feel free to post in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer them in this or the next talk. Now let's talk about food blogging. If you have a personal story to share and you feel that you can combine your love and interest for food with writing, go ahead and share that. I know some of you already do that on Instagram and you post pictures of the foods you're eating or the places you're traveling to, and that's great. But if you really want to get into food writing, start a blog or contribute towards a blog. I take guest writers, contributors on Go Eat Give. So if you're interested in writing for my blog, you're welcome to do that. But if you're starting a blog and you're thinking about ideas, what should I write about? Now, it could be a personal story of a great experience that you had growing up. It could be recipes that you have created yourself, or you may have gotten from your family or friends or someone through while you were traveling. It could be a restaurant review or a great restaurant experience that you've had. Or it could be a research article I wrote about the wars that Israel and Lebanon have over hummus. I have written about the history and origin of pizza from Naples. Or it could be about a chef. I recently followed a chef to Tanzania and followed along what she's cooking, and she comes back to New York and recreates it. That's Chef Grace. It could be a review of a cookbook. I have so many cookbooks, as you can see in the background. Sometimes they send me a copy, an advanced copy to review, to try other recipes and write it on my blog. Or it could be a review of a tour, like a food tour that you did. And you'll find a lot of those on my website, on Go Eat Give blog site. So lots of ideas for what you can write on your food blog. But some things to consider while you're writing them is have your own voice. Use your own voice. Make it very informal. Blogs are supposed to be a way of conversing. So tell them about your experience. Don't just mention, here are the dishes that I ate, but describe them. What did it taste like? What did it remind you of? Um, Make the reader feel like they're actually there tasting it. What was the surrounding like, and what was your guide, and what else did you learn about the culture besides that particular dish. Maybe certain dishes are like, I was in Poland, in Krakow, and I took a delicious Poland food tour, and we learned about pierogies and how pierogies are made and when are they eaten. But then we also talked about Christmas over one of the meals. And on Christmas Day, most Polish people eat fish. They don't eat meat. And what are some of the sides that we eat, the borscht soup that they make. So it was really a conversation that made a nice blog. If you haven't read it, I'll post a link here and you can go check it out. Take a lot of good pictures now, not just for the blog itself, but also for your memory. I try to take pictures of what the inside of the food looks like, what the presentation was like, what was the surrounding it was brought out in. And then I pick a few pictures to post on the blog, but mostly it helps me recall what I ate it and how I felt during the time. And people are very visual, so they want to see pictures and they're more interested in reading what you have to say after looking at the pictures. Give details, but keep it short. I've seen so many blogs, especially about recipes, that go on and on for pages, and they lose me because I want to cook something, but I also don't want to read a whole essay about how to cook it. I prefer to see 10 steps, 5 steps, list of ingredients. And if there are pictures to go along with it or a video, that's great. But as long as it's succinct, but it's still describing the process. Don't assume that your audience knows how to cook. Maybe they're trying this recipe for the first time. I was teaching a cooking class one time, and the recipe called for eggs. And I said, so now you will put 2 eggs in it. And trust me, somebody from the audience said, am I supposed to break these eggs or put them whole in there? Really, I couldn't I was shocked, as you may be right now. But yes, you have to break the eggs to put it in the batter. So don't assume that your audience knows. Describe it and let them know how to cook your recipe if you're posting one. And if you're writing about a restaurant or a chef or a food tour, make sure to link back to them. So they can also go and book that tour if they really find it interesting after reading your blog. So that's pretty much all I have to say about food blogging. Now, I want to give you some ideas on where to go. You may be planning your travels for 2019 and maybe wondering what are some of the best destinations where you can find authentic food and have a wonderful culinary experience. Now, the top one I have is Italy, which is a no-brainer. Love Italian food. But when you go to Italy, try to stay at an agro-tourism. So these are farms that have been converted into hotels. They are more like B&Bs, but they serve all meals. And there are houses that have been converted into nice little villas. But everything that you're eating there is local. It's most likely from that farm, if not from that village. And the food will be really fresh. You can go into the kitchen, you can help out and taste some amazing food with the beautiful Italian countryside. If you're in Israel, My top places are Tel Aviv, the Carmel Market, or go to Makne Yehuda in Jerusalem, an amazing melting pot of different cultures that you find in Israel. And there's no such thing as Israeli food, but it's a little bit of Moroccan, Italian, Mediterranean, Indian, Lebanese, everything mixed in it. So I find the cuisine to be really, really interesting. Plus, they grow almost everything that you find in Israel, from olive oil to cheese to meat to seafood. So the food is really fresh and authentic. I also love Morocco. Um, the Moroccan cuisine that you've eaten at a restaurant is probably not the most authentic representation. I did a volunteer vacation in Morocco, so we were eating home cooked meals all the time, which was generally one platter of meat and 20 sides of vegetables. And it was amazing to see so much variety of vegetarian food in Moroccan cuisine, which you may have not known about. So definitely check out Morocco for food. San Sebastian in Spain is also great. India, of course, is one of my favorites just because I love Indian food. My favorite place is Amritsar because it has so much uniqueness and authentic cuisine for very little cost. Um, New Delhi has some nice restaurants, Chandigarh does too, but I like to try more of street food. Of course, you have to be careful where you go in the restaurants, but there are some really clean local street food places in Amritsar to check out. Thailand is amazing. Bangkok has really good, clean seafood. You can have most meals for $3 and still feel full and have really good spicy food. And Indonesia, of course, remains my favorite because I've been there a few times with leading our Goikip trips to Bali. And it has amazing vegetarian cuisine. Also, everything is locally fresh. If you go out at 3 or 4 a.m. in Bali, you'll see like the streets are crowded and people are going to the vegetable markets because they buy fresh produce each morning, come home, cook it for the day, and then go to work. And most of them don't like to refrigerate. Some people don't even have refrigerators. So whatever they buy that day, that's what they cook. And that's what I like to eat. So I hope this inspired you and gave you some ideas on how to start about food writing, or if you not just want to go try new things and experience food in different countries, then you'll have some more ideas on how to do that. Well, if you enjoyed this, let's talk again next week. I will be in South Africa, but hopefully I'll be able to find Wi-Fi to join you. Next week, we are talking about life in the day of a travel blogger. So if you've ever wondered what we do behind the scenes when we are on a press trip, when we are traveling for work, then you will get a really good chance to hear me from South Africa next week. And that is going to be on January 2nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. So long, see you then, and Happy New Year.